let's talk about my favorite books of 2025 as a Christian reader. Hello book lover, welcome to my channel. My name is Kay if you're new here, and in this space we love to talk about reading books and we love to talk about Jesus. So today I'm sharing with you all of the books that I absolutely loved in 2025 when I switched my reading over to solely Christian and clean fiction. I have a Bible study resource in here, I have a nonfiction, and then I have some Christian fiction fantasies, historicals, a contemporary, and just like a hodgepodge of just Christian books. I have 9 different books in here to talk about. If you've been following me for a little bit, you're not going to be hearing anything new. Sorry about that, but these were my top favorite books in 2025. Let's go ahead and first start with my Bible study resource, and that was the Bible Recap, and this is by Tara Lee Cobble. This book was absolutely incredible for me to follow along with. If you're not familiar with what the Bible Recap is, it is a chronological Bible reading plan. It's a 365-day read the Bible in a year type of plan. I did not complete this entire thing. I actually started going through the Bible Recap because in my Bible studying this year, I got to the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel, and I realized I was jumping into David's story, and I've never read it before. I also knew that David had wrote a ton of Psalms, and I wanted a way to tandem read the story of David along with the Psalms that he wrote during the time of the story of his that I was going through. So somebody recommended the Bible Recap, and so I think I used this for maybe a solid 3 months straight or something like that, and it was an amazing experience. I definitely plan to continue with this. What it kind of looks like is you get a day, so this is like day 39, then it gives you the scriptures that you're reading that day, and then it basically just breaks down what the heck you just read, because sometimes when we read scripture, we're like, what did I just read? And so this kind of breaks it down for you. It gives you some of the significance of what you were reading, and then there's also something called a God shot. So this is kind of what the author Tara, it was like her big aha moment of the day from that scripture reading, and it is just an amazing tool and resource. I absolutely highly recommend this, and so the Bible Recap is way up there on my list. The next book that was one of my top favorites of 2025 was a nonfiction Christian book, and that is Stop Asking Jesus Into Your Heart by J.D. Greer. How to Know for Sure You're Saved. I know that title is kind of an ouchy title, but it talks about assurance of salvation and what true saving faith is, and how you can stop having that anxiety or thinking, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Did Jesus really die and cover all of my sins? And it talks about things like sanctification, and there's just a lot in this book that truly helped me. In my personal Bible, I have like 3 mini pages of notes that I took from this that I stuck in my Bible. If I'm ever having doubts about my faith, I can do a quick recap of those notes and just rest assured in Jesus's finished work on the cross. So I highly recommend this for new believers, for believers that have been following Christ their whole lives. It was just really good, and it's also like really short. I think it's like 100 pages. So I definitely loved and recommended this, and it's something I will revisit in the future for sure. All right, let's jump into the fun fiction books. So the first one, you probably saw it coming, but A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. So this is the first and second book that I read. I actually just started book 3 today, so I'm hoping to have that finished soon. So this is a trilogy. It's called the Mark of the Lion trilogy by Francine Rivers. These first 2 books, A Voice in the Wind and An Echo in the Darkness, were absolutely incredible, inspiring, life-changing books for me. If you don't know what this is about, this is following the temple destruction in 70 AD and kind of what life is like for the early Christians. You're following a few different sets of people, but it makes it really easy to follow everybody. I didn't feel like it was complicated or like it was too much, but you're mostly following this girl named Hadassah, and she is a Christian. Be warned, the first couple chapters are really heavy and kind of a little gory in this. Spoiler alert, but not really a spoiler. In the first couple chapters, her entire family dies, and she's taken in as a slave by the Roman Empire. It's a heavy story, but it is so absolutely incredible, and Hadassah's faith is so inspiring. Seeing the way that she impacts people around her and the way that she stands strong in her faith, even though she's technically not supposed to be a Christian in the place that she ends up, because Christians Christians are really looked down upon. It is just amazing. It is incredible. It is inspiring. I just absolutely loved this and I couldn't recommend it enough. The next book is switching gears a little bit, and that is Eden Brook by Julianne Donaldson. This book is just an absolute joy. This is a clean book. It's not Christian, but it's a proper romance. It takes place during Regency era. In this, you are following Marianne, and Marianne is basically sick and tired and bored of her boring life in Bath, and so she gets the opportunity to go to a fancy Pemberley-like estate. On the way, they have like a very intense trip getting there. Her carriage gets hijacked and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so she ends up to the place she's going, and there is a very insufferable man that she meets who she might just run into throughout this book. And I can't say enough about this. It was just so good. It's delightful. It's hilarious. It's a quick read. It's one I can for sure see myself rereading. This is just all the 5 stars from me. It's just a delight. That's the one word I would use to describe this book. Delightful. The next book on my list is Sense and Suitability by Pepper Basham, another Regency era romance, but this one is so amazing. This is a Christian fiction romance, and I loved the faith elements that Pepper Basham put into this book. She does such a wonderful job at making her characters Christians, but believably. It's not like it's too surface level, but it's not so preachy, it's cringy. She just does a truly beautiful job writing Christian characters. There's this line on the back that says, "A woman with a scandalous past and an even more scandalous secret swears off love until the man who broke her heart needs her help. What could possibly go wrong?" You are following Emmeline and Simon. So Emmeline, she is a secret authoress, which is a big no-no in society. And Simon broke her heart. Well, Simon kind of went rogue for a few years. All Emmeline heard about him was rumors. Well, he's returned. His entire house is chaos. He has now become the heir over it, which he never expected. He's taking care of all of his siblings. And then there's Emmeline, who wants to get married, but she decides she's going to help him find a woman that will help him with his estate, even though she loves him. Hopefully that gives you enough to make you want to read it. Also, Pepper Basham is absolutely laugh out loud hilarious. She has wrote some of my favorite characters ever in the few books that I've read by her. I just need to give a shout out to Emmeline's aunt in this book. If you've read this book, you know, but anytime her aunt spoke in this book, I was legitimately laughing so hard I was crying. I don't know how Pepper Basham does it. We just have the same sense of humor, and so I absolutely love this. So highly recommend Sense and Suitability. The next book is switching gears a little bit. This one is not gonna have any laughs. It's a very deep and dark story, but it was so good. It was definitely a book that has made me change the way I think and my outlook on certain things, and that is All She Ever Wanted by Lynn Austen. Let me just say right here, right now, all of these books, check the description box for trigger warnings that I'm going to leave for you. This book has a ton of trigger warnings, so if you're very sensitive to certain content, please look that up. This book is incredible. You are following 3 generations of women. You're following a daughter, her mom, and her grandma. You see how each generation of these women grew up. As you're reading through it, you can reflect back and see how that woman impacted the next woman's life. There's a lot of heavy, dark things, but it truly just made me think about mercy and grace to people and understanding, because we don't understand everything that people in our family have gone through. It doesn't mean it's okay that these people hurt people. It just made me think so deeply about how I treat other people or how they treat me. It's got a beautiful message. This is a Christian fiction book. It was just really inspiring to me. This book meant a lot to me. There were a lot of things that I related to in this book, so I personally found some healing in it. And I just truly think that Lynn Austen has a gift for telling generational types of stories. This is a backlisted book. I believe this was published in like the early 2000s, so there are definitely 2000s vibes and references in this book, which kind of cracked me up a little bit. But All She Ever Wanted by Lynn Austen, it had to go on this list. The final 3 books I have on this list are all Christian fantasy books. So the first 2, if you've been around here on this channel. You guessed it, Ashley Willingham. She has become my new favorite fantasy author. I absolutely love her. In both of these books, I can't choose a favorite between them. A War of Crowns is described as the Christian Game of Thrones, so it's clean, but her books are adult. I've had a lot of people comment and ask me if her books are good for teenagers. I would say use your discretion. There's no like curse words, there's no spicy scenes or closed door or anything like that, but there are some darker themes in these. You aren't sure if this is something your teenager could handle. Please read them first. Please look up trigger warnings. Ashley always puts content warnings at the front. Here is a contents assurance page, and she kind of goes into the types of things. You will see topics such as sexism, racism, ableism, death and fantasy violence will be shown, though never in any graphic detail, but the book will not contain swearing, spice, or graphic violence. Use your own discretion when it comes to adult fantasy books in general with your teenager, but this book I absolutely loved so much. Book 2 just came out, so I will be reading it soon, and I cannot wait. In this book, you are following Seraphina, and she becomes queen of this empire, and nobody thinks she is up for the job. There's wars going on, and so you're kind of following the point of view from her, from the other empires. You have things like prophecies, like people who are oracles, and they can give prophecies. There is some magic in this. There are characters known as witches, but they are never, ever, ever the good guys. We are looking to defeat them. I absolutely love this book though, because the way that Ashley Willingham writes biblical allegory and biblical themes in her books are just so incredibly beautifully done, and she has a gospel message at the center of all of her books, and I love that. This book, it's got a ton of different points of views, but it kept me on the edge of my seat the entire way through. And then next by her is Dreams in Dragon Wings. This is a romantasy. It is so good. I don't even know how to explain this book, but you are following Aurelia. She is living in the human realm, not knowing that she's actually the last remaining magical fae in existence, and she is basically in love with a dragon shifter, which I'd never read a shifter type of romance before, but it was really well done and interesting how Ashley did this. His name is Benevolence. They both live in 2 separate realms, but they come together every year on their birthday. This is a fated, I don't want to say mate, they're not like fated mates, but there's a prophecy that they're destined to be in love with each other, although there are tons of things trying to keep them apart. And this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, but it's gender flipped, so he is the Sleeping Beauty and she is on an adventure to try to save him. The faith content in this one absolutely blew me away. It's just so good, and I would highly recommend reading this one if you're into fairy tale retelling type of books. And the very last book I have on this list that made it to my top favorite books of 2025 is Resistance by J.L. Knight. This one is a non-magic fantasy, but I do believe that there are magical creatures that make an appearance later in the series, like dragons and things like that. You're following mainly 2 points of view, Chiron, Altair, and Jace. So Chiron, she has this photographic gift of memory, and she gets called to serve the emperor, and the emperor is a very evil guy, and he doesn't want people following Elome, who represents the Christian god in this book, and she is a Christian essentially. And then you're following Jace, and he is half Ryric, half human, which is like never really been heard of, and society really looks down on him for being half Ryric, which is like this evil type of creature, but he's not evil. And so it's very interesting. The concept is amazing. The writing will absolutely suck you in. It is so well done. You're following both of these as Jace is finding faith throughout this story, and Chiron is standing up for her faith, and there's biblical allegory in this. It is an adventure story, and it is just so beautifully well done, and it thankfully ended on a note where I want to continue the series, but it wasn't like a major cliffhanger where I felt like I had to jump into the next one immediately, though I would like to read the next one sooner than later. This was just phenomenal. The writing and everything just sucked me in, and the biblical elements were so beautifully well done. So that concludes my list of my top favorite books of 2025. What was your favorite book of 2025? Leave that down in the comments below for me if you made it this far in the video. I would love to start a thread in the comment section so everybody can just share their favorite Christian and clean books with each other. As always, thank thank you much for your support, for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, because those things really do help out my content be pushed out to other Christians looking for Christian and clean books. I appreciate you so much. Have an absolutely blessed week, and I will see you next time. Bye!